Okay, so what are fringe benefits? Well, I think we all know what fringe benefits are. The big thing are we taking care of them the way that we're supposed to, all right? And so fringe benefits are two ways, there's two things we gotta do with fringe benefits on our taxes. One, are we as employees putting them on our taxes correctly? And if we are being an employer from a Schedule C standpoint, are we reporting them correctly? So, they're non-cash benefits that could add to our compensation. Biggest mistake some small companies make is they don't add them. They think fringe benefits are fringe benefits and they don't necessarily add them to the compensation. They're taxable to me and you on our receipt as soon as we receive them. Sometimes it's insurance, sometimes it's the corporate plane, and it can be the corporate plane. That is a fringe benefit, but it is taxable. All right. Gross income means everything you're getting. Everything that you get access to that is not needed in your business. So a company car is not a fringe benefit unless the company car goes home with you. Then it's a fringe benefit. So like here at the college, well, I don't even know if it happens anymore, but the presidents, which we don't have, we have provosts now, the presidents used to get access to a company car. But they were so careful on how they used the mileage that I can tell you that when I was at Wildwood, she didn't take the company car home. She'd drive her personal car to work, take the company car to and from the different campuses, and drive her personal car home. Because she just said it wasn't worth the paperwork to fill out the mileage of when she drove it for personal reasons. Like if she happened to, well, she was allowed to drive home, that was okay. But if she happened to stop at Target on the way home, she was supposed to keep track of that. She said it wasn't worth it. So that is taxable. Another example, a friend of mine went to work for a company to be their accountant after they used a firm to be their intermittent accountant. I say that because a lot of times we're not appreciated until we're not there, right? So accountants sometimes are used intermittently, and then all of a sudden they're like, we really got to bring someone in. She went in and she started doing the W-2s at the end of the year. Then all of a sudden she called me. She goes, oh my God. I'm like, what? She goes, they haven't been including their bonus trips and their W-2s. I'm like, what are you talking about? Every year, people that met their sales quota got a trip. And the trip changed every year. And they really did. It was based on a sales quota. Not everybody got to go. And they were not including that in their compensation. She goes, I have been here for 3 months and they are going to hate me. Because everyone that had gone on that trip had to include that in their income. And if their spouse went, which they took their spouses with them, and that was okay, that the company paid for it, you're talking like a $10,000 to $15,000 increase in everybody's W-2. Yep. Well, the company ended up helping out. The company did something called grossing it up. They gross it up so that the company actually paid the taxes. So there's a way to do that, and it's not illegal. It's not around the book. The company grosses up the amount of the trip enough that they give you extra, so the extra pays your taxes. I know it sounds weird. It's hard to explain. They did that when I moved too. When Southwestern Rail moved me from Michigan to Oklahoma, they gave me X amount of money to move. I don't remember what it was. $10,000. Well, obviously I'm going to pay tax on $10,000. So the move was going to cost me 10. So instead of giving me 10, they gave me 15. That $5,000 extra paid my taxes. So they grossed it up, and that's what they did with that thing. But they had not been claiming that trip for years.
How did the IRS figure out?
Because the IRS didn't necessarily know that they were giving the trip to people. They don't know. But that small company in St. Louis, Missouri that has, I don't even know, 40 or 50 people working for them, that they took a trip to Key West this year and Puerto Vallarta that year, and the next year they didn't go because no one met them. They don't know what they're doing. So could they have got caught? Absolutely. Could it go under the radar? Absolutely. So should they do it? No. Because if they get caught, that's a problem, and then they're going to be audited. So it's not something you want to do, but it can definitely be why you get away with it. Okay. So you got to include those. So we need to recognize the full compensation of those fringe benefits. They're taxable upon receipt. The employer gets to deduct it from for FICA on the benefit. So a couple of the most common ones, this one right here, this is in your book. There is a table. Probably the most common question this week on your homework is, where do I find this? This table's in your book. It's actually on the next slide. It is calculating how much you have to put on your taxes for life insurance. All right? You are only allowed to get, and it's on page 1221, you are only allowed to get a certain percentage of your life insurance paid for by your company. That is based on a certain salary amount. Subtract 50%, $50,000 of the death benefit, you divide it by 1,000, and then it's based on this little chart. So based on your age, you are allowed to get $1,000 of protection times that percent. And then based on what you're getting and what you have to pay the rest. So it depends on how much coverage you get. The college here pays for 3 times our life insurance, 3 times our salary for life insurance, which is very good. But we have to pay tax on a percentage of that because they're not allowed to give us all of that without us paying tax on it. But it's a very small, I mean, you can look at that number. It's a very small percentage that we pay. You pay more as you get older because obviously you're more expensive, I'm sure. Okay, so bigger tax. Other fringe benefits, all right. You got to look at the FICA. Okay, you got to look at how Social Security comes into play with these fringe benefits. And sometimes the benefits, the cost, you must pay the employer's share of it too. Not always huge, but the considerations for the benefits there. Now, this is when I was saying about everybody has to declare the fringe benefit. So named executive officers is what NEO stands for. So these executive officers at Walmart are entitled to a whole bunch of different fringe benefits. Companies are allowed to be discriminatory on fringe benefits. They're allowed to say, you can use the aircraft company plane as much as you want for personal reasons, but you can't. Okay? And you can use a Walmart company discount card, but you can't. Okay? And what else do they use up here as an example? I'm going to pay for her to have life insurance, but not you guys. You can do that, which seems just not right, but also right at the same time. Basically, it's a compensation tool. And usually the higher up you go, the more fringe benefits you get. Another form of compensation, right? I'll give you $1 million, but in salary, so I can't deduct any more than that, but I'm going to give you some fringe benefits like I'll pay for your house. Right? I'll give you living expenses in a house. I will give you access to a company plane. I will do this. I'll do that. And so those are all fringe benefits, which are taxable. And they go under compensation. So that's how they get around. They can't do all those different things. Not salary and wages, but it is compensation. So you will be taxed on them. Some non-taxable fringe benefits, which there are. All right, and we're going to have those 2 pages, so you can just kind of look at them. The most common ones are group life insurance, which I just mentioned. Dependent care, all right, which your employer can offer you dependent care, and that's not taxable. Employee education assistance, they can offer you up to $5,250, I think. There are some health insurance benefits that they can offer. Meals and lodging when it's at the convenience of the employer. So you can't just stay because you want to. But, for example, when we used to have, when I used to work at AT&T downtown and there was a threat of a big storm coming in, they would put up the evening shift. We had a shift that ran from 3 to 11, 11 to 7, and 7 to 3. So if a storm was coming in at night, they would not let that 3 to 11 shift go home. They would put them up in a hotel right there. The 11 o'clock shift made it, but they were worried we wouldn't make it in. So they'd put them up in a hotel so that they could work the next day shift in case we didn't get in. But that was at the convenience of the employer, so we were not taxed. It wasn't fun for us, all right? Someone goes on strike, and they sent us out to Timbuktu, Kansas. That was not my convenience. That was not something I liked. I was not taxed on it. Other additional ones, anything small, any type of cafeteria plans, any moving expenses for the purpose of moving you That is not taxed. And then they put them, these are, this picture is in your book, and it goes through, you can see dependent care is up to $5,000 they can help you with. Where's the employee assistance is 52.5, so I actually got that one right. And then group life insurance, like I said, is 50,000. De minimis is relatively small and infrequent. One of the things I know, I can tell you Reuben Brown did, is they gave gift cards. They gave gift cards a lot. At the quarterly employee recognition things that they did all the time, they would give small tokens. Those tokens might be $200 and less. At the time, that was like iPads, not iPads. I worked there a long time ago, 10 years ago. Like iTouches, but they weren't the iTouches of today. But, you know, iPad, Nanos, or whatever those little things were, okay?
You talking like the PDA things?
No, I'm talking like the music things that just had music.
iPods.
iPods, thank you. All right, because at the time, that, you know, iPhones weren't quite as big a deal. People were still using BlackBerries, you know, but they were coming out, but that was kind of the incentive. They didn't give away phones, because that would have been $600, but they had gift cards and things that were smaller, that were kind of intangible. Those were okay. And then health insurance, obviously. So then there's some tax planning. Employers propose to reimburse up to $200 a month for parking. Is that a fringe benefit? Yes. Okay, parking can be a fringe benefit that's not taxable. You can exclude up to $250 a month for parking, which that works in St. Louis. I'm not sure if that's going to make it completely in New York or LA, but you're going to be pushing it. But $250 a month. I paid $110 to park next to AT&T. I'm not giving you the year because that tells you how old I am, but a long time ago. So my guess is it's like up to probably $150 to park in some of those buildings downtown. I only paid it in December, January, and February. The rest of the time I parked under Highway 40 and I walked, but it's cold downtown. All right, and so both taxable and non-taxable can make up a significant portion of your compensation. Those non-taxable items, those are huge portions of your salary. And just from a non-tax thing, that has nothing to do with this class, but from a job, when you go out to try to find a job, those non-taxable fringe benefits are huge. And they're things that I have to be honest with you, I didn't look at. When I got my job with AT&T, I took it. My aunt and uncle worked there. They had been there their whole lives. I took that job because I was going to work there and retire from there, just like they did. And I was there for 6 or 7 years, and then I switched jobs. The average college graduate today has 6 jobs. And I'm on 5. All right? And I think I'm good. I think I'm done. But I'm on 5. But the average college graduate has 6. And my guess is it's going to go higher than that because you don't stay. It's not like my aunt and uncle who went to work for AT&T and you just stayed. You go when you find the better place. You have options. People move. People didn't move back then. If your job didn't move you, you didn't move. You didn't move away from home. And my first job took me to Oklahoma City. That was weird. You know, I mean, Oklahoma City, but, you know, you just didn't move. So that, when I went to Mallinckrodt, which was my second job, I was floored when I got pregnant because their fringe benefits were not AT&T's. Not even close. And I never thought about asking. I took the job because it sounded great. I got to travel. The pay was good, and I didn't have to move to Texas. And when I found out the fringe benefits were not even close. And I asked when I went to public accounting, and I knew they weren't as close, but I was only going part-time. And I didn't take their health care, so then it didn't matter. But it is something that you need to ask about. Little things like parking make a difference. If you're paying $250 a month to park, and they're not going to reimburse you, Reuben Brown paid for parking in Clayton. Clayton parking is more expensive than downtown. So if you got to park every day, and you're going to end up paying $2,000 in parking, then you got to compare it to another job offer that's in Kirkwood, and you don't got to pay to park. You know, you got to look at those things. So fringe benefits can make up a big portion, and then your health care is in there, which obviously is huge. All right, and so you got to look at those things. Some can be a luxury, but not all of them are. I hope someday the 5 of you guys make it to a luxury fringe benefit, because that means you're flying on some plane somewhere, so that's pretty cool. And then here's a few of the some can be luxury. Here we got an auto allowance. That's not necessarily a high end, but I hope you get that because that is a very nice fringe benefit to get. And most of the time now they add it into your W-2, which is an easier way to handle a car. You got health and dental and a flexible spending account, which are nice. And parking reimbursement, group life, and then that totals it up. Those take you to examples in the book if you kind of want to see how those were totaled up. And that is it. So I think you'll find it's a much easier chapter than the last two. I think you'll find the stock, the 83 and the non-83B elections are probably the hardest when you're looking at the ISOs and the NQOs. I will ask some questions about that. The 83 and 83B I will ask questions about. To me, the ISOs are a little bit more than the NQOs. All right, more popular, and so I will probably ask more about those when you're looking at them. And please look at your tax project. If you haven't downloaded it at all, download it and look. Just download it and look at it so that, and print the instructions, so that next week, we only got 2 more weeks of just face-to-face before it's going to be due. And one of those is over Thanksgiving, so I know you're not going to look at it. So take a look before next week, because in the next week's Thanksgiving, and then you're coming in. And I don't think it's going to be horrible, but I just would like you guys, since you guys have all been coming every week, I just don't want you to go into that last week going, oh my God, I never looked at it. Okay, so download it and take a look.